All right, so today we are going to work on the 1J G35. And so where we last stopped off was the alternator. We weren't sure if the alternator was starting or not, or charging. So that's what we're doing today, or we're trying to do today. According to the EMU, it's not charging. So normally you have like your dummy light for the alternator, right? But as you can see, it's not in here on the G. So we know the alternator is not working. I've got the multimeter set up outside. All right, so here's the alternator plug here, and basically these three wires should have power. Now the wire schematic is completely different here than what I found online, but I did check this and the middle pin doesn't have power. So the key is on right now, and we got 12 volts on this pin. I'm assuming pin 3. On pin 2, we've got nothing here. And then pin 1 has power. So I don't know if they bypassed the charge light by running like a diode in place, or not a diode, a resistor in place. I don't know, but the middle wire does not have power. Well, our first sign of fuckery is here. So they've soldered some wires in here. They cut the main battery power wire. They didn't pull it through, they just cut it. So this pin is the center wire. So this red black wire no longer has power. So I'm not sure why that is, but that's probably the reason why it's not working. And so first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire this the wrong way. And with that being said, I believe if I apply power to this pin, the one that was found here, it should charge. Now the problem with doing it this way is that the alternator never shuts off. It'll be constantly searching for the like it's going to constantly try to command a charge, and it will drain the battery. So all right, with it wired up the wrong way, as you can see, we've got battery voltage with it wired up the wrong way. So I spent some time on the G35 trying to figure out the alternator, and it seems like whoever did the swap initially tried to do the alternator as well. And so if you guys have ever worked on a Z or G, you'll know that this connector is pretty familiar. This one here, it goes to the body, and they've cut the wire. So they cut the wire, and I have no earthly idea where it's at. So they cut the wire and they pulled it through, and this wire is missing, and this is actually the wire for the charge light. So I guess we're not doing that. Okay, so this is what we're doing. Since we found out that the wiring inside is no good, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add this resistor here. This resistor is a 470 ohm, and what it's going to do is trick the alternator into thinking that there's a charge light. So all we do is we're gonna take this wire, right? We're going to put the resistor in line, and on the other side of the resistor we're going to put it to key on power, which is actually this one right here. And then we'll shrink wrap everything up, and then that'll be good as gold. So it's not the ideal situation because you're not going to ever know that the car is not charging, but you know, this is what we've got to do because obviously the charge light doesn't work anymore. Okay, so we got the resistor in line and everything heat shrinked up, and I went ahead and added a little heat shrink to this, whatever they had it powered to before. I don't know what it was, so I'm not going to mess with it. But this side is done. We're going to go ahead and clean up this wiring here. So there's a bunch of all this stuff going on over here as well. So we're going to go ahead. I think this side I can officially say that we're good here. So I was doing some prep work, just tightening up clamps and couplers and vacuum lines and stuff like that. And we found out that the wastegate's completely loose. Like, it's on there, but it's loose. try to tighten it up while it's on the dyno, and we're not getting to it. So it's got to come off and go on the lift anyways. It kind of works out a little bit just because we've got to bleed this coolant out, just try to get all this gross rust shit out of it. And I've got the harness all wrapped up and cleaned up, so go ahead and just get it ready to get on the lift, and then we'll go from there. All right, we're gonna try to get the G off the dyno on my own. Normally I always have someone here to help, but everyone's busy today, which is understandable. Everyone's kind of in a blah mood. See if we can get the eddy brake to activate, which we're not for some reason. All right. Well, that was easy. It's killer humid inside the shop, so I've got the fan running here, so forgive me for the noise. I know the audio quality's never been good, but I try my best. Anyways, so I had to vacuum bleed the cooling system out of the G35. On the factory form, they have like a bleeder screw on the back for the heater core. They removed it, so we had a really tough air bubble to get out. And then I went ahead and got the fan wiring situated over here. So inside the car, we got to do some more wiring. We've got a bit more wiring inside the car rather. So first things first is that we have this random white wire. This random white wire is actually the main relay wire. This wire turns everything on. They didn't have this hooked up correctly or at all. I'm gonna get this hooked up to the ECU so the ECU turns on the main relay, and the main relay then powers on some of the wiring that they massively did in here to power on the ignition coils and whatnot. So this is the main relay output wire. Once the main relay gets turned on by the ECU, it'll send power through the harness like how it should have been from the factory, and then it powers on the ignition coils and the injectors. The next thing is that this is the CAN bus wiring that I did the other day. As you can see, it's pretty temporary. I'm going to go through and obviously get this as well and get that all situated. Then I'm going to go back and go through this wiring to get this all fixed because it looks terrible. Okay, so we got the CAN bus wiring done. We got the main relay pinned into the gray connector here. So I've got to turn that on via software. And then we're gonna go ahead and make sure that everything is still working like it's supposed to. and from there I'm gonna try to figure out what this nasty wiring is that they've got going on here, and then try to fix all that real quick. Okay, so now we've got everything wired up. We've got the ECU to set up the main relay. We should be able to start it and it should fire up now. Okay, so as you can see, it starts up and it runs. So battery's charging like it's supposed to. We've got everything hopefully working out now. The temp gauge I know is kind of weird because it doesn't seem to read accurately in here on the gauge cluster. So, but anyways, we got that done. So we got that done. Tack is working, so that means our CAN bus wiring is good. Now we just got to go through and figure out what all that goofy wiring that they have down over here. All right, so this one is constant power. This green black wire, it's wired to constant power, which in fact does give power to the EMU black like it's supposed to. This wire right here is the 12 volt trigger for key on. Okay, so this is actually correct. So black red is black red and black orange on the Toyota side are actually key on wires, and then you have your constant power wire, which is already done. But so originally I was just going to kind of go over it and just tape it all up, but I couldn't get it all situated just because of the solder job. So I ended up cutting it all out and I put a butt connector on it. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm not super happy with this. I think it's a decent repair. It was better than what it was, but I'm just not totally happy with this. Everything is such in a tight spot, and the wires were cut too short or some were too long, so I trimmed them up as best as I could. So I mean, this will be totally okay. It's a decent, acceptable repair, but again, it doesn't really make me super duper happy. But again, like compared to how it was before with it with just electric tape together, this is a far better repair in my opinion. And it's nice and sturdy though. It just isn't pretty. So, but it'll do.